Hi there.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the first of our 3 Apple Live webinars this afternoon. In this session, we'll be discussing all things sketchnoting with our resident sketchnoter, Beth Evans. Hello, Beth.
Hiya, Nick. How are you?
All good, thanks.
Good, good.
Okay, so sketchnoting, Beth, we're going to kick off. Just for those of you to be aware, so as you know, the whole conference is going on completely virtually for the first time. Which is absolutely great, but for us users using Apple devices, it has thrown a bit of spanner in the work. So we've had a quick revamp of kind of what we're going to do today, and we're just going to start off with a quick discussion around about sketchnoting before Beth dives into her slides. And what we will be doing is uploading a couple of videos to the resource hub, which I know you know is all available. And then they'll be available through YouTube for you to watch at your own leisure.
Nick, I think you'll agree with me. We like to keep things as real as possible. So how many times have you been in your classroom and you've had an epic lesson planned and then you're like, oh, the tech doesn't quite work. So we're going to roll with it as you would do in teaching. And we'll just kind of discuss more of the theory around it, give you some practical ways to use sketchnoting in the classroom. And then what we'll do, like Nick said, we'll post a tutorial of what we were going to show you on the resource hub. So check there later and you can have a look at that. So if we have a look at the presentation, and basically, I want you to just consider getting started with sketchnoting. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to be the world's best artist. I wrote a blog for the Aspire to Be website recently. And yeah, I'm not an artist at all. I'm a doodler at best. But there's so many things that you can do to improve your sketch notes, okay? So I just want to show you this here. So what is a sketch note? Well, essentially, it's a visual guide which informs you and guides you through a story, a concept, or a process, okay? Now, this is an example on the right here, the green cross code. These are the sketch notes that I produce for Aspire to Be, and you'll see that I use kind of the brand colours to make them really cohesive. I use bubble writing, I highlight different bits of text. Sometimes I handwrite, sometimes I use a font. That's actually a font that I made myself. Yeah, if you want to take it to that level, you can. So you can see kind of what you're looking to achieve. But the main thing I'd like to stress about sketchnoting is it's not about the drawing, it's actually about the concept or the information that you're trying to convey. So the first things first, I've learned most of what I've learned through tutorials on YouTube, courses online that you can find, and we'll come to that later because I've just made one. And this is kind of where I start. So how to draw sketch notes. And I'll make this visual available for you guys. So the first thing you need to do is once you've found the article that you want to create a sketch note about, you need to pick a pattern, okay? Now, you'll see the different types of pattern. On the top, you've got like a circle pattern. This is probably the one I use most often. So 10 tips for this or 5 ways to do this. Then you've got a linear scale. So if you're trying to explain something, kind of going down, chronological order is always handy. The sketch note that I just showed you, the green cross code, road safety, that follows this kind of wavy path. You've got a flow map, and then you've just got bubbles of information. Now, these are by no means an exhaustive list, okay? There are lots more ways you can lay out a sketch note, but I've just tried to summarize it for you guys. Next, you need to think about which frames you will use, and naturally, you will gravitate towards certain frames, okay? I love a scroll, which is the third one down, and I also love a cloud, so that's the bottom one, okay? I like post-it notes, pins, things like that. So you'll discover, the more you do a sketch note, you'll discover which ones work best for you. Then you need to think about connectors and separators. So how are you going to link the information that you are putting on your sketch note? Bullet points, they don't just need to be bullet points, okay? You could have arrows, you could have pointy fingers, stars, tick boxes. Do whatever's appropriate for the information that you're writing about. And then finally, you need to look at some fonts. Now, I say fonts, obviously, if you're handwriting, well, that's your own personal font, I guess. But you can import fonts to certain programs that I'll show you. And if that's the case, you might want kind of a larger bubble font and then a more delicate font for the text. So just consider those text choices, okay? And then this is interesting. So It says, which book have you chosen? This is how I introduced sketchnoting to the children in my class. And we focused on stories, because stories are really good for children to visualize, okay? And they could pick out the key points in the story, okay? So we looked at Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Now, what I'm trying to show you here is there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes before you even get to creating a sketch note, okay? So we've got Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I would have given this kind of template to my students. They would then identify the key areas in the story, okay, using their recall skills. And then we would look at creating a kind of review, as it were, or a summary of the plot of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And you can see it's a really, really simple kind of design. I haven't overloaded it with information, but it tells whoever's looking at that sketch note the main points in the story, and then whether or not they might want to read the book. And of course, the children were super engaged during this session, because it wasn't just let's write a book review, okay? So this is another example. I know that you guys, if you're certainly Key Stage 2 teachers, the book Wonder had a lot of publicity last year. So this is another example, looking at the main parts in the book Wonder, and again, summarizing it in my sketch notes. And you can see the features that I've just spoken about. So the block writing for the title Wonder, you've got your connectors. So I've just used simple blue arrows here, and I've chosen the blue from the front cover of the book, so it's all quite cohesive. You've got your little doodles that are appropriate for the information below, but they're also like a visual clue for your students, okay? So at this point here, I would say let's get sketchnoting, but I want to tell you about two key apps first of all. Now, the first one that you will need to have a look at, if you're just getting started and you think, oh, I don't really want to spend any money on an app just yet, there's a fantastic free app called Sketches School, okay? Sketches School. And if you search for that in the App Store, it will come up, and it's been designed specifically for pupils. And to use in the classroom, it's fantastic because the interface is just so simple. There's tools down the left and they're limited, which is quite nice when you're just getting started. If you want to take your sketchnoting to the next level, I would suggest getting an app called Procreate. Now, Procreate, slightly more expensive. I think it's about £10 the last time I checked. For me, that's what I produce all of the company kind of sketch notes on. And I would definitely say if you kind of really get into it and you want to work in layers, okay, because the main difference is Sketches Schools is just one canvas that you work on. Procreate, you work on different layers. If you've ever worked on with Photoshop, it's similar to that. And it obviously allows for more flexibility and enables you to adapt your sketch notes if you wish. So that is a whistle-stop tour. And as Nick mentioned before, we will get a tutorial for Sketches School up onto the resource site so that you guys can actually have a go yourselves. Okay, Nick?
Great stuff. Thanks, Beth. Thanks for sharing that. Really informative, really insightful. And even though we can't quite see the demonstration yet, I'm sure many of you are looking forward to find out all about sketchnoting. So a couple of quick questions for you, really, Beth, kind of before we wrap it up for this session, really. Just a couple of things. So how did you, first of all, get into sketchnoting? Kind of what was your inspiration? Why do you find it so useful?
I guess upon reflection, I was always a really visual learner, and it wasn't until I started looking at sketchnoting in the last 2 years, I actually realized, oh, that's how I used to do my revision notes for GCSE and for A-level. And then I was like, actually, I've been sketchnoting and I didn't even realize that that's what it was called. So for me, I kind of explored it further. I looked on Twitter. If you go onto Twitter, we all know EduTwitter, there's a big, big support base out there. Just search for the hashtag sketchnote and you'll find some people. Sylvia Duckworth was one that I followed and I got some really great tips from there. But I think what's really important is, by all means, get inspiration from other people, but also seek to develop your own style. So in the tutorial that I'm going to post later, you'll see that I talk about key features that I include on all of my sketch notes. And I think it is really important, whilst you can appreciate other people's style, you do need to kind of find your own. So it takes a lot of work. I've watched a lot of YouTube tutorials, Nick, hours, in fact.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and you know, I would just say be patient, okay? Some of you will take to it really naturally if you're a natural drawer, natural doodler. I'm not, okay? No qualifications apart from GCSE art. So yeah, have a go and be patient. It takes time, but use the resources that are out there for you.
Great, thanks for that, Beth. A couple more questions then, I suppose. So you've talked two apps in particular, Sketches School and Procreate. I'm someone, don't really have an iPad, or I do have an iPad, but don't really have an Apple Pencil. First of all, if I've got the iPad, can I do sketchnoting without the Apple Pencil? Or if I don't have either, what can I do?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question, because as we all know, classrooms across the United Kingdom, well, certainly globally as well, are resourced in different ways. So, for example, I have a Chromebook. A Chromebook has a stylus. So I would just adapt. I wouldn't use, for example, Sketches School, because that's an app for iPad. So I would use something along the lines of Squid on a Chromebook, and that would allow me to do my sketch notes in a similar way. Alternatively, you could use your finger with Sketches School. You don't need an Apple Pencil. Obviously, the pencil gives you more control, but you don't need it. And dare I say it, you can just use pencil and paper. And sometimes, even though, you know, we are a technology company, we stress that the technology you use must be meaningful. So if it doesn't add value to achieving a lesson objective, why are you doing it? So there will be times in life where you think, actually, a paper sketch note would be perfect for this. And that's okay too.
Fantastic, top tips. And last one then for me really is, what would you say is the key major benefit of sketchnoting? Your top benefit?
Oh, where do I begin? I would definitely direct you to my blog post on this. So on the Aspire to Be website, I've done a blog about sketchnoting and kind of my tools and how to get started. And for me, it's just that I gain a deeper understanding of concepts or of ideas if I map them out physically by drawing them. And those memory cues, the visual cues, actually help me with my cognitive ability. So there's a lot of research, if you kind of like the academic side of it, the theory, there's a lot of research into combining kind of verbal learning, but also visual clues, and how when you combine the verbal and the visual and the different parts of your brain, it basically powers your brain up and supercharges it. So there's loads of literature out there, but I personally, it helps my learning style and I retain information a lot better.
That's great, Beth. You obviously know me very well to say if I do my research. Fantastic. Okay, so I don't think we've had any questions come through from YouTube chat here. Oh yes, we have. One from Willowtime Primary. Good afternoon. I've got Procreate and I love it. How do I make it? How do I make my own font?
Oh, okay, that's a really good question. So there are actually a couple of ways. There are apps where you can, old school, print out a sheet of paper and then you actually physically draw it. But if, like you said, you've got an iPad and an Apple Pencil, I'm looking down because I've got my trusty iPad here, okay? And I will just find the name of the app for you now. It's called iFont Maker. And essentially what you can do, you'll see, I'll just demo here. Here are some fonts that I'm working on. It's very Blue Peter, this video, all of a sudden. And you can see if I click into it here, so this is actually my handwriting, okay? Yeah, there we are. So it's really simple. You essentially just draw each letter and each character, and then you export the file as a font file, and then you can install it on whatever device you want to use it on. I normally save it to my Dropbox so that then it's accessible whichever device I'm on. But iFont Maker is the font making app. But it's great because for sketchnoting, I'm a bit of a stickler for quality, and I can't always get the clarity that I want with my own handwriting. So iFont Maker is brilliant because I still feel like it's mine, but obviously it's uniform. So yeah, top tip, iFont Maker. Thank you for that question, Willowtown.
Beth, just to pick up on that then, so I assume once you make it in there, then that's easily transportable into something like Procreate?
Yes, absolutely. So as I mentioned, you can just export it as a font file, and I save it to my Dropbox, and then you can just bring it into Procreate. In Procreate, there's a section where you can just import a font, and that's what I do. Great
stuff. Thank you very much. That was good timing because we were just about to call it a day then when that question came in. So hopefully that answers that question for you. We know Beth loves Procreate and everything to do with sketchnoting.
I do.
So as we said, please have a look at Aspire Ed online, our new learning platform, where Beth has got a new course posted on there, everything to do with sketchnoting, where you'll see and share some of the top tips and more.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry to jump in, Nick. That focuses on Sketches School as well. So everything I kind of haven't been able to show you right now, you can delve into in more depth using Sketches School. There is a Procreate course in the works, so keep your eyes peeled for that one.
And thank you very much for listening. So I've just put up the link for the next Apple Live webinar, which will be talking about Seesaw, so using Seesaw for schools as a digital portfolio. So thank you for joining us. There's the link for the next webinar, and we look forward to seeing you shortly on the new link.